Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday warm-up. Today we're going to do a warm-up based on the Mozart D major concerto, first movement. So just a little bit of that. And some of the things that I like to address in when preparing this concerto are finding a really good entrance. So the trill scale going up to the top D and getting a really good sound on that top note. So that's one of the things we're going to do, a few things we're going to do. Finding really good repeated notes, scales in thirds, articulation, and yeah, stuff like that, basically. Just working on the material, but developing the sound with that. So that's what we're going to do. If you're joining live, do say hello. And the handouts are available now, so you can download them and follow along. That's on the website. Okay, so the first thing that I'd like to do is getting this really good sound on the top D. And what I like to do is first do it as harmonics, and then sing and play. If you look at the handouts, I've put the main notes of the orchestral part. So it goes dum dum ba da 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 dum dum. So we're just going to sing da dee dum like that, okay, whilst holding a top D. So let's get that first note. So if you can either do it as a low D harmonic or a low G. Either of those. We're going to hold a harmonic like that up there, and we're going to sing. Okay, let's sing this one. Now, I don't know if you can hear that coming through on the live stream, but so I'm singing da dee da da da, which is basically the orchestra. So let's try that again with you can choose a different harmonic this time. Okay, so you're opening up the resonance there, and let's just play that top D by itself. Okay, so that should help open up that sound, and it's like it should be your best note that you arrive on. So let's do the opening scale and the trill, which often freaks people out. The trill is something that we practice, but then in the context of this concerto, it can make us a little bit nervous. So just working on it sort of logically. We're going to do slow dee da dee da dee da da dee dum. We're going to do 6 trills and then the turn at the end. So E D E D E D C D C, like that. So gradually just speed it up. So we'll start slow, and then we're going to go down the scale of D major. So the next one would be. Okay, and then the next one starts on a B. A. Next one. so as you're doing that, try to keep the quality of the finger movement without stress as you get faster. So when you're doing it slowly, there's less stress involved. But as you speed up, try not to let that thought of, oh, I've got to play fast, and don't let the fingers grip when you do that. Okay, so that's a good sort of thing to sort of warm up the fingers a little bit with. And you could do that all on a D major scale. The next bit is to find a really good release of air and sound on the scale that goes up. So after the trill, you have. So let's practice that all on a H. So we'll start with the C sharp one, leading up to D. So you're going to go nice and slow. There we go. And then going down one semitone into the next key. So that's going to be a D flat major. Next key down is going to be C major, starting on a B. Okay, so if we put those little elements together now, the trill and then the H. Do that again. Now add the tongue to the H at that same tempo. Okay, and now up to tempo. Okay, so you should find that by practicing those notes very slowly with really good release, you might not always get a clean sound without the tongue, but it's good to practice it like that. And then so when you add the tongue back, you stand more of a chance of getting a nice, full, resonant sound up to the top. Okay, so the next bit that I want to do is on the second page. No, it's not. It's a little bit further down on the handout when we have this little bit there. I'd like to practice that in isolation on harmonics. So we just take the A's there and play them as D harmonics. And then just remove the semiquavers, just put in a quaver B. So what we want is that sort of phrasing towards the bar line. Dum, 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 coming away at the end. Elephant. So with the airstream, we're going to go down, 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 up, up. So leading towards a louder third A and then softer. So let's try that again on the D harmonics. Okay, let's go up a semitone. So all it is really is one note, so your low D, and then you go up a tone to get to the B. So for E flat, it'll be E flat and F. And then E will be E and F sharp. And then let's do one more, F, F and G. come back to how it's written, so finger out the actual notes. So it's really important to keep following forward all the way to the end of that phrase so the note doesn't cut off and it doesn't go flat at the end. So by practicing on the harmonics, you really train that really well. Similarly, we've got the next phrase. He puts in an extra little hidden repeated note there at the end. So we've got the G's that are repeated, dum dum dee, but then dee da da dum bum. We've got the F sharps that are repeated. So you can practice just one, two, one, and two. Okay, so let's do that on C harmonic for G. And then if you've got a B foot, that will be for the F sharp, otherwise just play F sharp. So it's just a semitone difference, C and B. Now I'll go up a semitone, so C sharp and C. Make sure that the two beats, the upbeats, have this up feeling. Bum, bum, beat, and then a little bit more weight on the last one. And the reason I do it on harmonics as well is so that I'm not pushing the sound for that crescendo. If I push, it's going to shoot up to another harmonic. So it's all contained within that sound. So just open up more and more, but don't force it. So it should stay nicely on those harmonics. Let's carry on with D and C sharp. And then E. Etc. So then you go back to how it's written. And then it just falls into place for you, hopefully. So that's that one. Yeah, next bit I think is on the second page of the handouts where we've got this bit, which I think is pretty tricky, isn't it? So you've got those big jumps. And again, I'm going to put harmonics for the top one. So if we play F sharp and A and the sort of the bass notes as written, but then when you get to the top notes, which are D, C sharp, D, E, you can either use low D for the D or G, F sharp for the C sharp or C sharp, again G and D for D, and then A and E for the top E. So just isolate those first. Or pick whichever one you like. I do both because there's slightly different resistance on them. So try it slowly with the bass notes now. And then switch to the other harmonic fingering. And then switch back to standard fingering. And then up to tempo. Okay, so it's a little bit of direction training, so aiming your air up and down and finding the depth of the bass notes, and very easy high notes. So we don't want to push the sound up there. Don't force the sound. Okay. So that's a little trick that I like to do. The next thing is getting a really nice articulation with these sort of, there's a lot of thirds involved. So I do maybe just a D major in thirds, and common articulations in this are two slurred, two tongued, or just two slurred continually. So let's practice D major in thirds, slowly first, with the two slurred, two tongued. Okay, so that's how it goes, and so let's do it a bit faster. So we have a little bit of weight on the slur and a release for the second note of the slur, and then the two tongue notes lead us back onto that slur again. So if we did it super slow, down, up, down, sort of like that, if it was a down bow and up bow on the violin. Okay, so next one is slurring in twos. Okay, and then a little bit faster. Okay, so that will come in handy. You can do it, let's do it in another key actually. Let's go up to E flat major. Let's do two slurred, two tongued. And then the two slurred. And let's go one more, E major. And two slurred again. So where you have so we have both of those actually. So that connects with that sort of section, and getting the coordination of the the thirds there. So don't let the fingers in between come in for the thirds. So practice the scale at the tempo of the piece as well. Okay. Next little bit would be, so just practicing these very light sort of laughs in a way. Just practice that on a D major arpeggio coming down to A. Again, without the tongue. And then put the tongue back. Okay, and then the next one would be an A major arpeggio. So we practice that little bit there as well. So just do a lot of sort of ha 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 for this one. It's just getting the sound really lively. And the last little bit would be where it's coming up. To get this sort of nice paradise, da, 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 dee, da, da, I'm using an adapted Moyes sonority that we did last week. So this dee, stress and release. So let's practice just that much actually first. So we'll start with the C sharp and just go up chromatically. And then underneath. Okay, so that's already quite nice to do, but now we add in the repeated note, which has to be softer than the first beat. So just think of the word paradise, and try not to have a gap, too much gap anyway, between the two B's. So we're going to do the same exercise that we just did, but just add a B at the end. So da do, da do. So down and up with your airstream. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so the slower that you do it, the more detail that you can find with how you're shaping that, and check the intonation and the quality of the repeated note. So just a little point there. So when you're coming from the second note to the third note, just be super careful that you're finishing that second note nicely. Um, so it's up, up, and then a little bit down for the next note, but not as down as the first note. So you get, and then back again. So do, 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 do. So you have a big bell and a little bell. Yes, the trills. Okay. So the trills we did just at the beginning. What I do is just do it very slowly and measured out. Um, so I was doing 6 notes for the trill, and then the turn on it, da dee dum, becomes 8. So that's basically what I do. I just do it slowly, but sort of count it out quite carefully. Because if you just flap your fingers, it's hit and miss whether you get a nice even trill. And I think it was Trevor White who said that um, an even measured trill sounds more impressive than just fast and messy. So make it very neat and crisp and tidy, and don't try to put too many actual trills in because it will just slow it down and sound a little bit frantic. So I would go for about 6 notes, dee da dee da dee da, da da dum, and then the last 2 to finish the trill. And I just practice that on all the notes. Um, Wherever you get trills in the piece, just practice it like that, and you'll stand better chance of getting a nice trill there. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Does anybody else have any questions before we stop? There's quite a lot in there. I would watch it back and just do it in your own time because I wanted to get as much in as possible for the 30 minutes. So basically what we did was finding a really good top D by singing and playing the orchestra part, getting some nice even trills, getting good release of air with the diaphragm, um, working with harmonics to practice repeated notes and intervals, working on the articulation with scales in thirds, and paradise phrasings and repeated notes with noise. So that's that's quite a lot. I would take a little bit more time usually, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. So thanks for coming. Next week I'm away, so I'm not going to be giving a warm up next week, but hopefully the following week. Okay, so see you.